That sounds we need, you know? Marcy, where we at, huh? Right here. Music. Yeah, niggas. Just raise you a motherfucker.
November 1941. And we left Scapa set off on HMS Sheffield to escort them right through to Mount's. And to get there, you don't go direct because of the U-boats that's waiting for us and the aircraft that's waiting for us. Fortunately, it's total darkness in the Arctic at that time of the year. We're headed for an island called Bear Island, which in the winter you can't go north of because the sea is frozen down to 50 metres. Some of the waves were 60, 70 feet. Well, we thought that was bad. I was only 18 at the time. When we went into Murmansk, and that's the worst place I've ever seen in my life. We was in there over Christmas, and when we started coming back with the empty convoys and the same route, and on the route going up we lost several of the merchant ships, but fortunately we got the empty ones back safely on that trip. 1941, the water was so rough that it was all coming down the air intakes into the boiler room and down the funnels into the furnaces. It was a job to keep the fires going and keep the steam. We'd done 2 more convoys in 1941. Come 1942, when we encountered a storm of hurricane force, and some of the waves were 120 foot high, higher than twice the size of your houses. How we got through that, only the Lord knows, but we did, fortunately, losing several merchant ships on the way. The second convoy, they saw gun flashes ahead. We put on high speed to catch the convoy up, and we can fire our guns 14 miles. And when we got within the 14-mile range, we started firing because we was the first ship in the Navy to have radar on board. The incendiary shells that light up as it's going through the air, they was going straight. And they said, oh, we're overshooting them. But all of a sudden, the radar took over and pulled them shells down, and we hit the cruiser hipper into the boiler room and put her out of the rest of the war. Done so much damage. That was our first salvo. All of a sudden, in the darkness, a destroyer come to ram us, a German destroyer, and our guns were down, ready for reloading. And the gunnery officer said, fire, fire, fire. And we hit her point blank, and she went down with all hands immediately. And we were nearly blown sideways because, as I say, the guns were horizontal and not up in the air. And the next convoy up, I forget the date, it was again 50 miles behind the convoy, shadowing her, when Sheffield got torpedoed by a U-boat. It caused a hole of 60 feet by 20 feet, brought us to a standstill in the water, and we expected another torpedo coming in immediately, but we were lucky and never got one. We was almost losing our quarterdeck, the stern, with all the propellers on. But within 17 minutes, all the engineers and the stokers got the ship going again at 5 knots. At 5 knots we got back into Sadisfield. Because at 9 o'clock on HMS ships, we go to action stations for the night. And 200 of the crew would be exactly where the torpedo hit, including myself. A torpedo struck us at 8:50. Only one man was lost. We were a very lucky ship. When I first joined her, we went out a house sink to Bismarck, and we got hit by her, and we lost 6 of our crew. Again, the Hood had lost nearly 2,000 men. It's incredible, the luck of that ship. 1943, the beginning, about February, to escort a convoy to Russia. Normally it takes 36 hours from Scarborough Flow to Iceland. This journey took us 5 days. It took us right into the eye of the hurricane, because if we tried turning round, the fierce winds would have turned us over. A tremendous 120-foot wave ripped off the top of our gun turret. We ripped it back like a tin opener, and we got something like 1,000 tons of water. There was 26 men, and all they got was bones broken, legs broken. That's against submarines. A sonar dome, it goes down 6 feet below the keel. These cables tore that off, so we had water coming in underneath us and water coming in on top of us around the gun turret. The hull was caving in. We had marines holding the bulkheads up, and it turned the whole go around. The rest of that 1943 summer, we were on the Atlantic, Battle of the Atlantic, where we was never touched by the enemy at all, because the Sheffield was so lucky. In 1943, we was taking a convoy through in November, when we got the convoy through safely into Murmansk. And again, it was Christmas. So I had 3 Christmases in the waters of the Arctic. HMS Belfast, our sister ship, and the 8-inch gun cruiser called the Norfolk. And we went to sea in a hurry, and all of a sudden Sheffield, with a radar, picked up a huge pocket battleship, forward gun turret, fired 6-inch star shells. Lit the sea up, although I was down the engine room at the time, couldn't see anything. I missed it all. It was pocket battleship Charles, we've been searching for about 3 years. Several 11-inch rings were found on the upper deck, but no paintwork was damaged.